Coming up on Face the State, the former speaker is sentenced. The fate decided for Larry Householder. Affirmative action rejected. The U.S. Supreme Court made a landmark decision on this policy. We're talking with local education leaders about what comes next. Face the State starts now. A remarkable conclusion of a descent from power. This past week, former Speaker of the Ohio House, Larry Householder, sentenced to 20 years in prison. Householder, the man who called the shots at the State House, was taken into handcuffs and will serve time for his role in a $60 million bribery scheme. We thank you so much for joining us for Face the State this morning. I'm Tracy Townsend. 10 TV News reporter Lindsay Mills was in Cincinnati for this historic court hearing.
Harsh words for Householder from a U.S. District Court judge saying the community's and court's patience with Larry Householder has expired. Former House Speaker Larry Householder arrived at U.S. District Court in Cincinnati Thursday morning, once again wearing a baseball cap and a suit. What are you hoping for today?
I don't have a hope, so.
Any final thoughts?
Nope.
Before handing down the sentence, the court heard from Assistant U.S. Attorney Emily Glatfelter, who said Householder didn't use bribe money to buy a Rolex. Instead, he used it to buy power. The government asked for the maximum sentence, 20 years. Following statements from his attorney, Stephen Bradley, Householder spoke, asking the judge to consider his family. He got emotional talking about his wife and their time together, saying two people who spent decades as one will now spend the rest of their lives apart. U.S. District Court Judge Timothy Black sentenced Householder to the maximum sentence, 20 years. Here's U.S. Attorney Kenneth Parker on the message they hope this sends.
That you better serve as a public servant. If you come to work, you're going to be an imposter, you may find yourself being prosecuted.
And after Judge Timothy Black handed down that 20-year sentence, an unusual move. He ordered Householder to be taken into custody immediately. The defense has said it will appeal this sentence. In Cincinnati, Lindsay Mills, 10 TV News.
Householder is one of Ohio's most powerful politicians. He was when he was in office. He was twice elected speaker before his indictment. After his July 2020 arrest, the Republican-controlled House ousted him from his leadership post, but he refused to resign for nearly a year on grounds that he was innocent until proven guilty. In a bipartisan vote, representatives ultimately ousted him from the chamber in 2021, the first such expulsion in our state in 150 years. All told, 5 people and a dark money group have been charged so far for their roles in the scheme. A federal investigation remains ongoing. And now to Washington. As of this recording, the Supreme Court was still expecting to make several major rulings impacting student loans and LGBTQ+ rights. But we do know Ohio colleges and universities are establishing their next steps after the landmark ruling from the Supreme Court on affirmative action. CBS News reporter Jared Hill has more.
We won't go back. We won't go back.
Dueling protests outside the Supreme Court Thursday. The court, powered by its conservative majority, ended the use of race-based affirmative action in college admissions.
It means that you cannot explicitly use race as a factor in admissions.
Writing for the majority, Chief Justice John Roberts said admissions policies at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, saying in part, the student must be treated based on his or her experiences as an individual, not on the basis of race. In a scathing dissent, liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman on the court, wrote, with let them eat cake obliviousness, the majority pulls the ripcord and announces colorblindness for all by legal fiat. The cases were brought by conservative activist Edward Bloom's Students for Fair Admissions, arguing the schools discriminated against white and Asian applicants like Calvin Yang.
It is my hope to see a renewed college admission system that recognizes and rewards the multifaceted talents and diverse perspective that each individual can bring to the table.
Chief Justice Roberts wrote that universities can still consider the discussion of how race affected an applicant's life, say, in an essay. A notion, though, that Justice Sotomayor called nothing but an attempt to put lipstick on a pig. President Biden slammed the ruling.
This is not a normal court.
While Republicans praised the decision as ending discrimination. Jared Hill, CBS News.
You can find more about that decision at 10tv.com. And now the question is, how will it really affect future college applicants? Reporter Casey Decker is verifying whether the decision will impact legacy admissions.
The Supreme Court has banned universities from admitting students based on race. The decision prompted outcry from critics who say it'll hurt colleges' ability to maintain a diverse student body. And they argue the court is allowing a practice that harms diversity to continue. Legacy admissions. That's when a school gives a student a boost in the admissions process because their family members went to that same school. Studies have shown that at many elite schools like Harvard, legacy students are overwhelmingly white. So let's verify. Did the Supreme Court allow legacy university admissions to continue? Our sources are the majority ruling written by Chief Justice John Roberts and Ben Barton, a law professor at the University of Tennessee, who has also served on the school's admissions board. The answer is yes. The ruling allows legacy admissions to continue. The ruling dealt only with the practice of giving preference to applicants based solely on their race. And while legacy admissions have racial implications, they aren't solely about race.
Those may statistically result in racial bias. You can figure out which one it is. But that is not based on race, and so that would be fine. And it's the same thing with poverty. You're allowed to take first-generation students or poverty into account.
The ruling, in fact, explicitly left room for factors adjacent to race to be considered, saying, for instance, a student could write an essay about overcoming racial barriers as long as the consideration was based on their actions, not just race. So now, race-based admissions practices have been deemed unconstitutional, but other preferences, such as economic status, where the student is from, and legacy status are still allowed. But those two could eventually be called into question, and President Biden himself suggested legacy admissions should be.
Today, I'm directing the Department of Education to analyze what practices help build a more inclusive and diverse student bodies and what practices hold that back. Practices like legacy admissions and other systems expand privilege instead of opportunity.
With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
And now to a Supreme Court decision that could impact redistricting all over the country. The High Court lifted its hold on a Louisiana political remap case. Political analysts say this increases the likelihood that the Republican-dominated state will have to redraw boundary lines to create a second, mostly black congressional district. The map has white majorities in 5 of 6 districts, all currently held by Republicans. This is despite black people accounting for 1/3 of the state's population. Another mostly black district could deliver another congressional seat to Democrats, and that's why some Ohio groups are celebrating.
Our organization, and why I'm so excited, is that many people don't know, but in states like Alabama and Ohio, there's lots of black folks in there. There are actually more black people in the state of Ohio than the state of Alabama. And so when we're talking about the state of black people in America, we're talking about access to the ballot and all, like having representative democracy for black people in America. You know, many of those black people live in the state of Ohio. And so if in Louisiana or in Alabama, we can actually, have courts rule in favor to make sure that they actually can have a chance to be fully represented, it sets new precedent for places like Ohio, where those questions might come before different courts. And what we do want to see continue is that Black Ohioans are not ignored, that they actually are able to go out and cast their ballot and that their ballot matters, and that when they walk into the ballot box, the issues that matter in their community around school funding or making sure that we have a safety in our streets or healthcare or good wages, whatever it may be, that when they go out and cast their ballot and raise their voice and talk to their elected official, that those folks both look like them but also represent their interests more importantly.
Ohio's congressional map dispute is still awaiting action in the U.S. Supreme Court. Ohioans are also preparing to vote in the August special election, and poll workers are working to make sure every voice counts. Here's 10 TV's Kevin Landers.
In fact, there will be fewer places for people to vote when voters head to the polls. The Franklin County Board of Elections says during a normal election, it would have 307 polling locations. But for the August 8th election, there will be 282. That's 7% fewer places for people to vote. The BOE says it has 25 locations that could not accommodate voters with such a short turnaround because of resurfacing floors, church camps, and other activities. There are also concerns about not having enough poll workers. A spokesperson for the Board of Elections tells 10 TV, quote, "Our goal is to recruit 5,000 poll workers for the August election. As of now, we are a little above 50% of placement for Election Day. We are confident we will get to where we need to be." In an effort to attract more poll workers, Franklin County voted to increase the stipend for those who volunteer to $134. Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
No phones allowed. Coming up on Face the State, why one school district in our state is keeping devices to a minimum. Protecting your students, where legislation stands that could require AEDs at schools across the state. But first, the Stars are coming to Columbus, why the world of soccer will be centering on Central Ohio in 2024. It's soccer season right now, and last week it was a big announcement for Columbus and Major League Soccer. 10 TV's Adam King was there for the announcement that's putting the capital city in the soccer spotlight.
The chants are just the beginning.
Look forward to the 2024 MLS All-Star Game being here in Columbus, Ohio.
The lights will be shining on lower.com in Major League Soccer's biggest moment.
This is a dream come true for us, dream come true for Columbus.
You couldn't walk past even the cookies without hearing the news. The newest star in Columbus wears 24.
You know, this team now has captured the imagination of the soccer market, you know, not just here in Major League Soccer, but really around the world. Look at where we are today. I mean, one of the great stadiums in the world.
Garber calls it a crown jewel event in a crown jewel city.
It's not just the MLS world, it's really the whole world of soccer is going to have their eyes on Columbus. The important aspect is that it's not just a game, it's a week-long celebration. Really excited about the global stars in MLS and the world descending on this pitch just next summer.
Just 5 years ago, chants of Save the Crew filled Columbus, and now, on a pitch that the fans helped build, the best in the league will put on a show.
You know, we're so excited because it's hard to imagine that 5 years ago we were standing on the courthouse steps trying to figure out how to keep the team. And now being able to bring truly a worldwide event to Columbus, that's what it's really about.
It's a win for the Crew and a day to celebrate lower.com, but it's also a massive day for the city.
But you think of all the thousands of people that are going to come in here. They're going to stay 1, 2, 3 days. It's big for Ohio, it's big for Columbus. You know, one night the whole world is going to be watching.
And now the work begins to truly prepare for a soccer celebration that gives glory to Columbus.
I mean, this is what we've been building now for the last 25 years here in the community, and how Ohio's just really accepted us, and now we're going to see the world accept us.
Adam King, 10 TV Sports.
And be sure to check in with the 10 TV Sports team tonight for a look at the Crew's highlights from this weekend. Nearly 10,000 Ohio students will no longer be able to access their phones during the school day. The Akron Public School Board of Education just unanimously approved this new plan for students from 6th through 12th grade. Here's our sister station in Cleveland, WKYC.
Almost anywhere kids go to school these days,
screen time is just too high.
Cell phones have become part of the classroom experience.
Cell phones, for different reasons, negatively impact a lot of our kids.
At Akron Public Schools, they found phones were also connected to the challenges students face: bullying, distractions, and mental health issues.
And they kept coming back to the same thing: a cell phone, a cell phone, a cell phone.
Steve Thompson says that's what led the district to a pilot program.
This is a Yonder pouch.
Students in select schools were required to lock their phones into a Yonder pouch that they would carry with them until the end of the day, when
these unlocking mechanisms are hung in the high school hallways and middle school hallways. They take their Yonder bag, click it, it opens, and off they go.
A survey with nearly 200 teachers found 96% agreed that students are more productive when their phone is in a pouch.
But I would submit to you that this is an effective policy.
77% of parents told the district they believe there are negative effects to using phones in schools, but nearly half also said cell phone use during school is necessary to support student learning.
It seems to be more productive for our students in many regards to not have access to the phone during the day.
Expanding the program to all schools would impact about 10,000 students between 6th and 12th grades.
And ultimately, I hope that we see increased academic achievement from our students because they're more focused and they're less distracted in the classrooms.
State law could soon require AEDs in your child's school. Coming up, one district is already getting ahead of the curve. We'll take you there. And could Social Security go bankrupt? It's a claim circulating online. Our Verify team is on the case. Columbus City Council is fighting for gun safety locks. Police say last week a 12-year-old boy was arrested after he was involved in an accidental shooting that injured two 13-year-olds. Here's 10 TV's Tara Jabor with what city leaders are trying to do, they say, to keep you safe.
This week, the city of Columbus fought back in the Court of Appeals to allow the city to implement gun safety measures.
Kids, randomly find guns or showing off guns, have no idea how to use them, and then discharging them and killing, injuring, or injuring others. And that's exactly why we have our safe storage laws.
Recently, Columbus has seen several accidental shootings, including 2 in the last 2 weeks. According to Columbus police, they have responded to at least 36 accidental shootings in the last year. City Attorney Zach Klein says he won't give up this fight. He wants parents to be held responsible for their guns.
And we're going to do everything we humanly, possibly, and legally can to ensure that there is a duty imposed on parents and guardians in this instance to make sure your darn guns are locked.
He believes the city will win the case. Klein says gun violence is a public safety issue, and it's a role of council to step up and make change. But he also says it's the role of the people
to vote people out of office that are standing in the way of public safety.
Councilmember Emmanuel Remy says enforcing gun safety locks is common sense.
That's the thing that just keeps me up at night. I have small children myself, and just understanding, if they have a gun at their disposal, they tend to want to play with it.
He says children's lives should be more important than a gun. He hopes for the best in the legal battle and wants to remind people that gun locks and safety boxes are available for free at fire stations and the health department.
Hopefully that legal battle will be resolved and the rights of us as a city to govern how we want to govern will be restored.
Reporting in Columbus, Tara Jabor, 10 TV News.
There is a push to require all Ohio public schools to have AEDs. This is something we've been reporting and covering very closely since Buffalo Bills athlete Damar Hamlin was injured on the field at Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati. One Northwest Ohio school already ahead of the curve. Kaylee Kirby at our sister station WTOL explains.
And it is one of the most major links in the chain of survivability when it comes to CPR. Basically what it is a very sophisticated device that is very easy to use.
Private Sterling Ray with the Toledo Fire and Rescue Department says AEDs only require a little bit of training, and the equipment basically walks you through the steps.
Deliver shock now. Clear. Press the shock delivered.
Now, Ohio lawmakers want to make these devices more accessible, and leaders at Washington Local feel like the district is out ahead of this.
You never want to have to use one. But if a situation presents itself, whether it be a student or someone at a game, you want to be able to react immediately. And this is what this does for us, especially having them at every location like the bill talks about.
If passed, AEDs could be required in all public schools, some private schools, and sports and recreation locations. The bill is a direct result of Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin collapsing during a game from sudden cardiac arrest. At Washington Local, these devices are already in every school, and staff are prepared to use them if needed.
This is something our medical experts here in our district have recommended for years. We've had them at a baseball facility, at our softball facility, at the football field, several inside.
The bill has also passed the Ohio House and is currently in the Senate. Now, If the Senate approves it, it will go to Governor Mike DeWine's desk. 10 TV's Kevin Landers covered local districts making this push. You can find his reporting right now at 10tv.com. This past week, advocates observed Ohio's Elder Abuse Awareness Day. That's why on Wednesday, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost held a news conference really aimed at bringing together advocates and professionals to talk about effective strategies for dealing with the growing problem of elder abuse. It was called From Research to Practice. The 2023 gathering focused on the role that trauma plays in the lives and circumstances of older adults and the importance of using a trauma-informed approach in helping these victims. And AG Yost says his office is working with law enforcement really to make sure there's more research done to see how trauma impacts our elderly population and how to help victims and families cope with these kinds of incidents. Could Social Security soon go bankrupt? It's a question that many of you have asked. So we had Casey Decker with our verified national team look at the program's budget for some answers.
Millions of retired Americans rely on Social Security checks to pay their bills, but several Verify viewers asked us if the program could soon run out of money. So let's verify. Will Social Security go bankrupt? Our sources are the Social Security Administration, AARP, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, the Congressional Research Service, and Joseph Cordes, a professor of economics and public policy at the George Washington University. Here's how Social Security's budget works. Revenue is collected from payroll taxes. Funds are distributed in the form of monthly checks to all the eligible recipients. If more money is coming in than going out, the excess gets put into a special trust fund. For decades, that was the case, as there were more workers paying taxes than recipients collecting checks. But in recent years, there have been more and more retirees, and those retirees are living longer, meaning Social Security is paying out more than it's taking in from payroll taxes. So how does SSA make up the difference? That trust fund. But of course, you can only do that for so long before the trust fund is depleted. Experts estimate that at the current rate, the trust fund could be out of money in about 10 years. So what happens then? Is the whole system bankrupt? No, because you still have payroll taxes coming in from everyone currently in the workforce. Experts say those taxes could cover 77% of the benefits any given year. So we can verify, no, Social Security won't go bankrupt, but the checks could get smaller. That reduction in benefits would make a huge difference for millions of Americans, and that's why advocacy groups are pushing Congress to find another funding source to close the gap. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
What can we verify for you? Send us an email or reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter to answer your questions about what you see online. The Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure is almost at the finish line for its fundraising campaign, and they've been asking for you to help cross it. The organization has been working for months to hit their $1 million goal. The executive director says the support has been great, and now they need one last push.
We are surrounded by so much support and so much kindness, and really people in Columbus who care about this mission that actually just means a whole lot to me as well.
Now, as of last week, they were only $50,000 from their goal. They did kick off the 50 Hours to 50K campaign. The money will fund breast cancer research and support survivors right here in Central Ohio. And you can still help if you want to learn more or make a donation. There's a link to how to do that at 10tv.com/featured links. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining us here on Face the State today. Have a great holiday. Take care.